Three, two, one. Every next level of your life will demand a different you. That is a quote by Leonardo DiCaprio, and you will discover why I picked that as we conversate with my new friend, Jill Smith. Jill, what's the middle initial?
C.
Jill C. Smith.
Hmm.
Um, So remember, you can go to lucydumascoaching.com, and I've got my 10 big ideas for marketing in the real world book. And then there's another little gift there too if you fish around. So be my guest. And if you've got someone you'd like to have me interview, or if you'd like to be on my show, you don't have to be the most profitable and the most successful. Everybody's got some good things to share that can benefit others. So get in touch and let's set it up or send me something about who you think would be great. All right. Jill Smith and I have been trying to fit each other in for, gosh, over 6 months.
Over six
And we
months.
finally, today's the day.
Yeah.
And I was on her show. I'll tell you more about her, but I was on her show early this morning because she's on the East Coast and I'm on the West. And now it's my turn and it's high noon in California. So Jill is a family photographer located in the Catskills in New York. Her style is a blend of lifestyle and documentary. And I'm going to ask you what the difference is in that. She focuses on things that are warm and honest and connected. She also does coaching and mentoring. She has a podcast called
The
what,
business focused photographer.
The Business Focused Photographer. Um, and she loves to help people on pricing, sweet refinement, marketing, and client experience. And she's been full time for 12 years. And she loves that she can be equally creative in the business and as she can in her art, which is awesome because so many photographers are not that comfortable with the business part. So we all need your help, Jill. So thanks and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Lucy. I'm happy to see you again.
Yes, it's been 2 hours, 3 hours.
I know so much has changed.
Yes, I had a banana. I fixed my bangs. I checked my emails. So
Oh,
what's a quick background about how you got into photography or into a photography business?
well, I was a teacher.
Ah,
I My contract was ending. My school, I taught English to refugees, and I worked for a BOCES. I don't think there's BOCES in California, but we had a contract with Catholic Charities who was bringing the refugees in, and that contract was ending, and we all had a chance to reapply for our jobs or leave. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, had just gotten a job here in the Catskills where he was from, and I saw it as a chance to pivot. And uh, I always love a blank slate, and I kind of thought, oh, here's my opportunity to like decide what I want to be when I grow up, even though I just spent all this
hmm.
money on college and multiple degrees and certifications. But I thought, all the other teachers were standing around the break room talking about what they were going to do after renew the contract or not. And I said, I think I'm going to become a photographer. And like,
How
if,
did you just pluck that out of the air?
well, I thought I had been thinking about it. I like, I was always filling my schedule with art, and sequencing out of my sciences with an art, with like studio art in
Uh,
high school. And like, I've always loved art. It was never, I'm in 80s, 90s kids, and for us, college was the only pathway. And nobody talked about how to turn art into a career, creativity into a career, and how it was really one track for careers. So it was just something I hadn't considered. And then I think we had just had friends get married, and I saw that they had, a professional photographer, as you would. And I saw his website. I'm like, oh, this is like a job. It would had just not occurred to me that
mhm.
this is an actual job beyond Sears portrait studio. And no, so I looked at, I thought like if other people can do this, why can't I do it? So
Yeah.
I took my security deposit from that apartment and I bought my first DSLR and I started. I had always had cameras, the most expensive digital cameras that I could afford, um, at least at the time. And then I thought, all right, I'm gonna do a little splurge here. I'm gonna see and yeah, it was a slow burn for a while when I settled down and I started to have kids. I left teaching completely. I had continued in education once we moved, but I told myself that if I could turn this thing into a business before my last child was in kindergarten and I had no more excuse to be home and not working for other people, then I could keep doing it. And it turns out it's way more lucrative than teaching and
Yeah.
less stressful
Hmm.
and more flexible. And of course, the creativity was not even where I thought it was in the art because we are doing commissioned work. So we do have parameters that we've put in place where that we can work within where I thought, I was surprised and happy with the amount of creativity there actually is in running the business itself. And
Mm.
that's where I
Mm.
find a lot of joy.
I love that. One of my guests who delegates almost everything, including the photography, and he's wildly successful. And I never thought I would want my business to be like that because the creativity of photography. And but his personal work, and I wish I could just pull his name up. Sorry, everyone. Um, but his work is devastatingly amazing. Like sell your cameras and just live on, I don't know, beans and rice. But it's his personal work. And he said he has the freedom to be super creative
Yeah.
because the business part, including the photography, is running itself. And I just never thought of that. So there's all kinds of ways to be creative
Yeah. Yeah.
in photography while we're running photography businesses. I,
Absolutely.
I love what you said too, that running the business is creative.
Super creative. Like the most. You have carte blanche to be creative on the back end of your business where I can't show up to a client shoot and do something totally new. I can't just
Right.
experiment
I've
unless
decided
those are that's what I've laid out as what's going to happen. Those are the expectations. I can't. I have to
yeah,
do what I've been doing.
yeah. You can't say, I'm into shoes. So
Yeah.
this session is going to be just things of you guys walking and
Right.
showing your shoes. No.
Right. Right. No, yeah. No, but on the back end, you can be extremely creative and experiment um, and that's where growth happens is experimentation and taking risks and failing more than you succeed is
Mhm.
where, you really like get those steep growth curves.
Do you have something that you thought was going to be awesome that was a big fail that
Yeah,
comes to mind?
many. Oh
Can you
my
pick
God.
one?
I am the queen of big ideas that
Okay, I
flop.
want one. Can you pick one?
Um, I've as like a business coach because I'm newer in that space, I'm having a lot of those there lately.
Hmm.
Where like group coaching, I tried a monthly group coaching thing that was like low ticket and high value and it's just like, but you don't know until you try. And what did I lose? Like a little bit of ego points,
Hmm.
it's like I've had other event. I tried this thing 2 summers ago. It was like I called it like a block party sort of thing where I would people could put together their own mini sessions with all their friends. The idea was like you choose the location, you get the friends, up to 5 families. The more families that come, the less you each pay, sort of thing. And I
Hmm.
thought it was super appealing and not, zilch. But like and that's what there's way more of that than things that I put out there that blow up and do
Right.
well. But my business is still like it's the net is high. I'm still
Mhm.
very profitable, but yeah, I'm just putting myself out there a lot and there's plenty of things
Right.
that flop.
Yeah. And the ones that are successful, you can repeat those.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
And success would mean um, like what am I trying to say? It it accomplishes what you want. Like one great success
Right.
is enough. One of
Yeah.
my flops. Um, so when I did weddings, I always did bridal shows, and they were very successful for me. Not just booking maybe for good events, but I networked like crazy.
Yeah.
I met new people. I invited them to come hang out at my booth. I followed through later. I referred people while I was talking about my photography. I'd say, "Hey, the best cake baker is over there." So there was a children's expo, and I thought, "Oh, that sounds great."
Right.
But it was downtown San Diego. We have a lot of military. I'm high ticket. This was pre-digital, pre cheap and cheerful photographers, but anyway, I got nothing
Yeah.
from that whole thing.
I think it's like a very different consumer mentality too. That's like a bride going to a bridal expo, where one of the things they need to check off their list is a photographer. Where a family going to a child expo is like, let me try out a stroller, or let me, there's a myriad of things, and none of them, very few of them, are needs. And that's like,
Right.
I think we talked about it before, where like one of the nice things about newborn wedding photography is there is an end date and there is a need to do. And if where family photography can be put on the back burner and you can wait. So we do have that a little bit more on the
Hmm.
marketing front of to create some sort of like urgency where
Right. Exactly.
yeah, we're without being disingenuous.
Also, it was not a pre-qualified group. If there had been a child expo in the neighborhood that at the time my ideal clients hung out and the other vendors were high end and the ticket price was high, it could have been a whole different story. So,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that was the moral of my story.
Yeah, but you know what? Like you never know. Like I know that you're a proponent of in-person networking and marketing, and I am too. I think it's the most powerful way to like create lay a foundation with a lead is in person, like boots on the ground um, marketing. And sometimes people don't even realize that was the first time that they became aware of you. Maybe somebody did become aware of you at that expo, and it wasn't until they had their fourth kid that they were like, you know what? I do know there's a family photographer.
Yeah.
What was her name again? Oh yeah, it was Lucy.
Yeah.
So I feel like everything like that, as long as the cost to be a vendor there wasn't exorbitant, was
Right.
is almost always worth doing.
Yeah. Not that's it was a waste of time, a waste of money. I could have been spending the whole day
Yeah.
calling up former clients just to say hey and
Yeah.
uh, but the point is we try things, they
Yes.
work or they don't, or like if you try a charity
Yeah.
gift certificate program and it doesn't work, well, it works when you do it right.
Right.
So then let's analyze, where we're, and that's why connecting with someone like you and being able to say, "Hey, Jill, I tried that thing you said and didn't work. What am I missing?" And, you and I have experience that
Yeah.
we can refine that. So, okay. Um, we are different in how we sell, but we also both, I assume, are making a good living. Or like I'm doing mostly coaching now, so I'm not out there in the camera world so much. But anyway, we
Yeah.
both are profitable as
Yes.
photographers. So why do you do digital only?
I my frontal lobe is like wide open. It's not I have awful executive functioning. For me, the less steps, the better. For me to be able to deliver a consistent client experience that is high quality, where people are getting the very best of me, that is going to have to be limited to a really strong session prep, a really strong session, and a very timely delivery. And over the years, I've never experimented with in person, but I've experimented with a session fee model. And even then, it's one more step than I would like there to be. And I also want a promise of a baseline of like the very least, because I do have ways for people to spend more than $1,200 with me.
Hmm.
But I want a baseline to know that nobody's going to take a session fee and then I have to rely on my ability to sell more or their willingness to buy or their schedule, my schedule, and all that. I think it's a logistical and neurotype thing for me. It's
Hmm.
my brain chemistry would not do well in such a high like a white glove experience.
Mm.
I'm high touch, but I would consider you to be white glove. I
Yes.
would say that's the next tier.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I could imagine that it's a little bit easier to find, what did you call your tier?
I'm high touch. I mean, I offer a lot of client support. And there's, I am there for my clients every step of the way. Even like a year later, hey, I can't, can you re-upload my photos? Like whatever.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Um, I'm happy to do that. If you're a client of mine, you're always my client and I'm not going to drop you once you stop hiring me. But um, is it easier to get? You know what I will say, the difference going from where I have been a session fee model to not is that that barrier to entry is much higher. People are making a higher price commitment right off the bat.
Ah,
So
okay.
that in itself is a challenge. However, I think it's also a cultural thing, a regionally cultural thing, where in-person sales, session fee models are pretty uncommon around here. I know a few, but so it would require me to do a lot more educating too up front of
Hmm.
people to explain because I think most people are expecting a digitally inclusive, even if it's not all the digitals, but a digitally inclusive model. The age groups that I work with tend to also expect that. Like we talked about earlier, where you have your brides and your seniors, those are probably the youngest clients that I would ever have are brides and seniors.
Hmm.
And yeah, their whole life is digital. So
Right.
of course they are the ones who are going to be. So for me, yeah, I'm working with young parents and yeah, a lot of it is like, well, how is the world going to know that I did these family photos if I can't also put them? The other reason that I've reconciled this choice, Lucy, is that my shooting style is very much storytelling. Where in the past, when I've done a um, a session fee model with packages, digital or mixed print, whatever, I never was satisfied personally with them
Hmm.
only getting a part of the story. The
Hmm.
stories the photos belong together, in succession. And so when I do sell tangibles, it's very often like an album. I have a membership, and people who are in my membership get an album every single year
Really?
as a perk. Yeah. And I think that's the best way for my photos to be enjoyed. I still have people who make print purchases from by gallery that are
Hmm.
just drop shipped. So I have a little bit of that too. But yeah, I think that it creates an absolutely different sort of uh, business, when
Right.
you're
Right.
separating those things.
Right. 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 Um, so I said I was going to ask you this, the difference between
Documentary and
lifestyle and
lifestyle.
documentary.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just talking to another photographer. I feel like when we went from film to digital, it became really easy to create a technically perfect photo. And as it does, the pendulum will then swing, like we will then recoil from whatever this thing is that we've achieved and we've become sick of. So I
Yes.
think once people started to reject perfection that was so easy to attain with digital photography, lifestyle became a thing, which is it's not supposed to look posed, but it is very
Mhm.
posed. A lifestyle session, a lifestyle family session could easily be done in 30 to 45 minutes and look like the family was just wandering through a meadow and like, in beautiful light and everything is kind of
Mhm.
still idyllic. And for me, and I think now we're getting to the pendulum is again swinging, where a lot of like these early adopter lifestyle photographers are starting to push a little bit more for more rawness, a little less perfect light,
Mhm.
a little less over curation. I was just telling somebody how I'm like selling my client closet, which was in the background of when I recorded
Mhm.
with you, because it's not. I am. I think the other reason that I am personally pushing away a little bit from the overly curated is that with social media, everything feels curated, everything feels performative. And
Mhm.
it's not that that's not beautiful, but I think that the honesty can be beautiful too. And I think that takes real skill, like real technical skill as a photographer to see that, frame it, conceptualize it, and create it. And that's been a fun challenge for me so in the last few years, I have been mixing more documentary in, which is less me telling you what to do and caring so much about the light and just kind of waiting. And so sessions are taking a little bit longer as we're waiting for these things to pan out. And there's just there's less curation and less idealism in there.
Okay, so if I can summarize and tell me
Yeah,
if I'm right.
yeah.
So documentary and lifestyle or storytelling or lifestyle might actually look similar, but the lifestyle is where you're planning a lot of things out and putting people in places and then saying, okay, now whisper in his ear and say something dirty and you get the reaction. I don't know. Did
I
you ever
think that's,
hear?
yeah, I think that's
But
a pretty accurate description.
whereas documentary might be gonna show up at the crack of dawn and have the kids in their PJs and eating cereal and going outside and chasing the dog or
Possibly,
things like
yeah,
that. Or
possibly.
what,
I'm not
whatever.
quite there. I'm not doing quite that of like a Kirsten Lewis documentary or like the documentary realist who will not alter anything in the home. Like I'm still going to turn off all your lights and I'm probably going to, if there's a distracting wire in the background of your photo, I'm probably going to remove that. But
Yeah.
looking more for story, more for honest. I'm happy to see my clients in jeans and a sweater rather than these flowing $300 Reformation dresses in a meadow that means nothing to them. I'm looking for more meaningfulness. So
So
yeah,
your life, so your lifestyle, what you're calling lifestyle includes special dressing, special locations,
I think
whereas
traditionally, yeah,
documentary
yeah.
is more like in the real life mode. Am I getting that?
That's what it means to me. When I think
Hmm,
of a lifestyle family photographer, there's almost always a curated wardrobe, something
got
that you
it.
wouldn't wear. And I'm not saying that when it's time for family photos that you shouldn't dress up or try to look your best or no. I
Mhm.
think I like to see people feeling good, feeling
Mhm.
confident, but I want them to look at photos of themselves and see themselves. Whereas I have, and I think this was kind of what made me kind of step back and say, wait, is this really what I want to be doing? Is I did my own family photos one year where I went and I got a beautiful dress and I got hair and makeup done. And the photos are beautiful, but I don't think any are on my wall because I'm like, that doesn't feel like me.
Mm,
I have the ones, I print and blow up the ones of me and my jeans and we're all like in sandals at the family farm versus us at this park that's beautiful with great light, good composition. Everything's technically perfect, but they don't mean so much to me.
great.
Yeah.
So I want to go back just to see if I have, this is before we talked about the lifestyle. When I
Yeah.
asked you why you do digitals only,
Yeah.
you make prints available, but primarily one of your reasons is you like getting your money up front. When you go
Hmm.
out and shoot, you know what the deal is. It's worth your time. You're not speculating,
Yeah.
which that was nice about weddings when I
Hmm.
did them many years ago because, uh, well, I had opportunities for them to buy more. At least I knew I wasn't going to be working for pocket change.
Right.
Number two is just the way that your brain works, your time, your energy. That's what works for you.
Right.
That other than, like hiring me to do your sales and a lot of those things, having someone else do it, it just would slow you down. It would not support you and your business.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, I
so-
think that sums it up. It's just, I'm a very much with the grain worker, where
right.
when I adopt a system, if I adopt a model of any sort, if I'm forcing a square peg into a round hole, it's never going to stick. I
Right.
need, because there's so much importance in consistency
Hmm.
and follow through.
Yes. Well,
So yeah, I need to be able to finish the job, and I think I'd have a lot of people still waiting for their pictures if we had to schedule
yeah.
another appointment. You saw
Right.
how hard this was to get, right? And I'm not
Yeah.
even that high demand.
Yeah. Uh, so that actually teaches me something because, like, I have a former coaching client, but once I work with someone, I'm always, wanting the
Yeah.
best and following them. And she tried to switch to selling, and her work is wonderful, and she gets tons of leads because her work is so great, and she just couldn't make the switch. And hopefully I helped her get more money for her work, but I hadn't thought about different people's brains and even lifestyle. She's a mom of like six or
Oh
something
my
with
goodness. Yeah.
grandbabies on the way. And
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing is I get my most satisfaction when I'm with my clients showing the work. Yes, I had a good time. I told you I did a shoot yesterday and um and it was fun, but it was work. It was work. And when I sit with her and show these to her and she oohs and ahs, that is what's the most fun for me.
Yeah.
But that's me. And so I'm guessing you get a lot of satisfaction out of the actual activity of photographing.
Yeah, and running the business.
Yeah,
I truly do get a lot of
right.
satisfaction running. I have associate shooters who do a fraction of of shooting for me,
Hmm.
but that's that to give you an idea of where
Interesting.
I value myself in my business
Hmm.
as kind of just being, steering the ship.
I
Um,
love it.
I mean, shooting's fun. I do like to, especially when I am like in my zone of doing what I really like to do, the
Hmm.
type of work I really like to do. Sure. Of course, sometimes I still book things that I dread until, but I try to save those for my associates. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for me, I cannot imagine being excited about another client appointment if I'm scheduled. Maybe I would be, but I know myself. I probably wouldn't. I like extreme flexibility in my work
Yeah.
and doing the work when I feel, because of my ADHD, I have different and very unpredictable uh, bouts of extreme focus where I can be very productive and very creative, but I don't
Mhm.
always know when that's going to happen.
Got it.
So I love that. I think that's why I love the admin, is that I can put that stuff to work on the back on my time in leggings and with or without a bra in my house. Like I
Right.
could, I like that level of flexibility of the running the business.
Got it.
Yeah.
Um, so in a month, how many sessions do you enjoy that doesn't feel like too much that you are personally photographing?
Like a full family session, what's a good number for me? I think I think 6 to 8. Yeah,
Yes. So
six
the
to eight is good.
reason I like what I do is I
Yeah.
can do two for the
Yes.
same income that you do 6 to 8.
Right.
But then I've got more of that
Right.
longer phone calls, consultations, do the sale, production, big part,
Right.
production,
The white
getting
glove.
the work done.
Yes.
So, um, yeah, and I love that we can figure out what works for us. There may be a day when you wake up and something I said on your show, you think, gosh, what if I only did two a month and I made the same amount and I learned to sell? But I have to say, my strength has always been the work itself and then and the sales process. And the marketing has always been my sticky part.
Yeah.
I just as soon not. Uh, whereas it's fun and the whole business aspect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do like doing the charity events because I know they're going to a good cause and they bring qualified people my way.
Yeah.
Um, but how do you feel are some great ways to market what you do? The lifestyle documentary, whatever we want to call it, and get steady work through your door? What are a couple of ideas?
Well, I always make sure to have at least one what I call foot in the door offer per quarter. I do them more often than that. So this is something that is either free or extremely low ticket. It's I equate it to like casting a broad net. So um, this is when I will just get in front of as many people as possible. Where, but also as a photographer, I'm not just going to a grocery store with my kids as a mom. I'm showing up as a photographer. So
Mhm,
a really effective example of how this has worked for me as a lifestyle family photographer is I do what's called personality portrait pop-ups. And while I do have a studio, I these are where I'm doing like these little studio mini pop-ups in other businesses that who I am vetting to make sure that they are drawing in the same sort of client that I'm looking for. So where I live in the Catskills, we have a pretty healthy contingent of second homeowners or
mhm,
visitors from New York City or transplants. So these are the people that I invariably end up vibing with the most, right? They are qualified, as you would say. And
mhm,
and like I also care a lot about I have an easier time working with people who I know are on the same social and ethical wavelength as I
mhm,
am in this time in 2026. So I find that those types of families are gravitating towards certain businesses. So
mhm,
I approach these businesses, and it's a one hand washes the other sort of situation where the days that I host these pop ups, like most recently I did it in this boutique children's bookstore. She had like a record sales day. So
mm,
it's always really great for them. It's great for me. It's we cross promote. When people register, they agree that they are getting on my email list and the business owner's email list.
mhm,
Um, and it's kind of like school picture day. There's no upfront cost, but parents can then buy the photos that they love through the
mhm,
gallery. They also get a sequence of automated emails inviting them to book a full family session with me.
got it.
And like, for example, out of the last one, I photographed, I think 30 kids. It wasn't 30 different families, but 30 kids. And I booked three, maybe four family sessions from that. So it's a decent conversion rate. It's like a pretty
Mhm.
solid, and this is what I mean by like in-person networking. These people had not heard of me
Oh, it's
before.
fabulous.
If they just saw me on Instagram, it's going to take a lot more time than that for them to trust me versus watching me with their kid, talking to me in person, seeing the way I work, getting the photos firsthand. You know, they got a little sample. I call it like the bourbon chicken in the mall. It's like the free sample that gets you
Oh
to
yeah.
just go in and buy it, you know, and it's extremely effective. And so this way, this is, did I answer your question? This is one
Yes.
way that I just bring people in that kind of vets them and says like, hey, this is, I am producing these very imperfect, very silly, very unposed childhood portraits that are different than anything that, you know, Life Touch has sent home in your kid's backpack. And it kind of, you know, shows them what sort of photographer I am.
Right. Well, and that makes me happy on a lot of levels because the reason my ebook is 10 Big Ideas for Marketing in the Real World is it could be idea number 11. Because you're somehow you've networked with people who have similar client base
Yes.
and then and have their SHIT together enough to have mailing lists and client
Yes.
base and running their businesses well. And then you do something that's a win-win. That's a wonderful
Yeah.
way to get get people to know you, get into your contact email metropolis.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and what inevitably happens too is my clients see that I'm doing one of these and they'll drive, like the next one I'm doing is an hour and 30 minutes away. And I have some
Mhm.
of my clients who sign up for those. So that business is that now getting exposure to my base. So we are totally like mixing the waters together, and sharing our clients because hey, if you like me, you're probably going to like this shop and vice
Right.
versa. It really is mutually exclusive, like truly.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've done and I recommend to my coaching clients is so for like that company, a gift certificate program where they gift for their top clients a, a session and a credit towards photographs. I'm not sure how I would translate that into a digital
Right.
um, something, but maybe if it was a smaller number of digitals so you could
Great
upsell.
idea. Yeah.
But that thank you gift, it's another way to reach your ideal clients that are their ideal clients. And
Yeah.
something I love that you said, and then I'm going to go into our original thought about pricing and how you get from what I call
Yeah.
cheap and
Yeah.
cheerful in the digital space to actually getting paid well for your
Yeah.
work. Okay, I talked over my brain. Um, okay, I was there's saying in the free gift certificate program thing. Okay, I don't remember. Because I was excited to get your take on it. One of the challenges, one of the struggles with the coaching clients I've had who wanted to start making good money and not the $350 digital, coaching clients.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to transition them without my method, which is photograph, get the sale, make the prints, get the money in person. So, can you give us like bullet point steps about if someone listening is in that starter place, but they're doing good work, they're confident, um, how they can work on their pricing model to step up, step up, step up.
Yeah. There's all sorts of ways because raising your prices is it's a head game for a lot of photographers. And you know, the first thing that I would tell people is that whatever arbitrary number you've assigned to your prices, the next one is just as arbitrary. It's only meaningful to you because it's in relation to that first lower number. So every new person who views your business and sees your prices is not going to know about the past prices. So you can forget about that. But I still understand that what it's like when you have an established client base, especially as a family photographer, newborn photographers who are working with the same family several times, who may feel like they're pulling the rug out from under their old clients with a big price increase. And very often, you do your taxes, you do your bookkeeping, and at the end of the year, you're like, oh, I barely broke even. So it's very often it's like you do need to do these significant price increases. So like I've at least 3 times had to double my prices in my business,
Mm,
and that's scary. So I have like a couple of things, little different systems, little tips and tricks for people who are needing to raise their prices, but want to do it without the ick, want to do it gracefully with
okay.
while retaining their clients.
All right. I remembered my thing, which
Okay.
is, and this kind of goes into what you said about the head game. What I've discovered in my 40 years in business is that often the less people invest, the more pain in the tushy they are.
Every time. Every time.
So the goal, like it has shocked me, but I understand it more. Like there's a painter that paints a lot in the neighborhood, and he's always like, I can paint for you, and his prices are so low that I don't trust him. Even though the other neighbors say he's great, I would watch him like a hawk because, um,
Oh, you mean he paints like interiors
oh,
of your home
house,
or
yeah,
okay,
painting my
okay. He's
house.
not
Yeah, sorry,
like a visual
not an
artist. Okay.
artist.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a trust factor in
Yes.
the cheap and cheerful. So anyway, so I want to just uh,
Well, I
connect the dots on that cheap and
yeah.
cheerful and the why of transitioning.
Well,
One reason,
the number that you choose to be your price is a part of your brand,
right?
and it communicates for you. And there needs to be a level of intentionality when you choose that number and make sure that that number is in alignment with the other things that your brand is saying.
Got it.
Um, yeah, and I like the analogy like if you went to a Mercedes dealership and there was a brand new whatever, I don't know. I am not in the market for Mercedes. I don't know. We talked about Honda and Subaru before. Um, but there was a brand new Mercedes sitting there for $10,000, you probably wouldn't buy it.
Right.
Right. Because
Apple
why is it so cheap?
Apple came out with a new
Oh,
iPhone recently that's
mm,
like half the price. And I think, oh my gosh,
why?
what's missing there? Like,
Yeah,
and it kind of
they're,
values
hmm
my phone too a little bit.
yeah. And their new laptop, which is 499, which I've completely discounted as something I should ever buy because I need a high powered machine and I assume at $500 it's not. So yes, your price is telling people something about you, good or bad, but it's going to tell them.
Mhm.
So be intentional about it and make sure that you know, the reason that I talk about pricing is because it can't be siloed. It goes hand in hand with your branding, with your marketing, with your client experience, with your skill level. None of those things can change without checking on the levels of the others. And that's why I am on a soapbox about pricing. And I like we were talking about the differences in our business models. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Sorry,
Mhm.
cats. And there's more than one way to do it, right?
Right.
Um, but you do need to know what you're doing. You need to be intentional about your choices and everything like that.
So good stuff. So what do you suggest? Somebody's fairly busy. They're doing everything for $300 to $500, delivering the files. How do you suggest they get to, $1,000 or 15 for the same work? Um, what what kind of transitions, what kind of things would people need to shift? I know you said one is what's in your head, two, understanding,
That's the slowest thing, though, changing
yes.
what's in your head. Yeah.
Two is understanding that the why, which is our numbers communicate our brand. I have gone to websites where I thought, oh my God, this work is amazing, but photographs, and then I've gone to their pricing, and it's like $300 to $500. And all of a sudden, I think they must have stolen these pictures from someone else
Yeah, I
because
thought that
they
too.
can't possibly.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So we've got that. So the
Um,
head game, the communication.
I think the
What's
very
next?
first thing, the actual first thing that anybody needs to do is some math and and to know what not only what you're bringing in, but what's going out. And before
Right.
you even touch what your prices are, look at your expenses. I think that it's easy for our expenses to get away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And to especially now with like different softwares are doing double duty. So there's probably a lot of redundancy, and redundancy is the enemy of efficiency. So looking for the
Mm-hmm.
redundancy in any of the programs that you're paying for, see if you can cut any expenses first, and then take another look at your profit margins. Because maybe, because Lucy, I really think that I think, like I said, more than one way to skin a cat. I love, and I say that as somebody who really likes cats. I'm a big
Yeah.
cat lady. But there's different business models. There are we and every market has a demand for every different type and every different level of photographer. And I'm not here to say that everybody deserves beautiful professional photography. No, but when I first got started and I was undercharging like big time, I was still probably priced appropriately. And I was working with people who
Mhm.
were never going to pay my current prices.
Right.
So there's a part slice of the market for you where you are. Check to make sure that like, yeah, your portfolio is up to snuff with where you want your new prices to be. Make sure that you're not overpaying in expenses. Uh, I think that, consider who you want to be working with. Different slices of the market will have different spending power. And
Mhm.
you may, and I have gotten here to this point too, where you may raise your prices to a point where you're working with a new type of person that maybe that's not who you enjoy spending an hour or two with,
Mhm.
once a year. So then, reel it in, but then you need to it's like you can slice it and dice it a lot of different ways.
Right.
The goal is a profit margin. So that's what you want to be keeping an eye on at all times. If you are if you are like, oh, at $500, I'm getting booked at the volume that I really like to be. I like to be photographing frequently. I like to be working a lot of jobs. That feels good to me. Okay, then make sure that you are an extremely efficient photographer. Make sure that your systems are efficient. Make sure that you're not over delivering for that price point. Make sure that you can accommodate the number of people that you want to work with in a year while meeting your income goals and keeping your profit margins what they need to be. So it's not always the answer is not always to raise your prices is what I'm getting
Right.
at. Although
Right.
it usually is.
Yeah.
But
It's not, and it
it's
is.
not always. It's not always to raise your prices, but it usually is. Most photographers, um, maybe not most, but many photographers who land in my inbox looking for coaching are underpriced in relation to their goals and the type of work that they're putting out.
Right. There's a joke that uh, I've heard it at least as long as I've been in business. Oh, I did my numbers and I realized I'm losing $100 a session, but I'm going to make it up in volume.
Right. Right. So
So,
it's just being
but
aware. Be
right,
aware of
right.
these numbers as much as boring as that is. And I
Yeah,
think that, and this is a sidebar, but I think that this is why we have a high churn in our industry. We have a lot of photographers who come in hot, they get really good really fast, they seem to be busy, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. I
right,
think that it's, you sit down with an accountant once and you're like, oh man, so you're telling me that if I want to keep doing this, I need to like do all these other things that make me a little uncomfortable? No, thank you. It's not for
yes,
everybody. It is not.
right.
And yeah, it's why we don't
And
have to worry about an oversaturated anything because the churn rate is wild.
right, right. I'm thinking about if I were going to do, let's say, what I'm calling cheap and cheerful, 350 to 500. I could do that and make good income if I made sure I didn't spend too much on new camera gear. If I um, had, how would you cut your expenses? Just being really, really mindful, uh, and maybe have them be half an hour.
Yeah,
And, just like, how could I do that? And I've been coaching for about 10 years, and I have some people that do a lot of branding. And so they're in that price point, but people don't get a lot in that price point. So
for
they'll do,
branding. Branding photos actually make people
well,
money. So they
potentially,
should,
but these are like headshot, basically
okay.
half hour headshot, and they may do six in a morning.
Yeah,
So six at $300 with just direct delivery and not that much editing because you're doing,
yeah,
mostly
sure,
headshots in studio can be, several $1,000s of profit. So
sure,
there's ways to do all of it. I
absolutely.
love what you're saying about be aware of those numbers
Yeah.
and figure out
Well, just
what you actually need to do it the way that you want,
right.
the way that makes you happy and comfortable
Well, there
and
is
attracts your ideal clients or the people
attracts,
you want to
well,
work
that's the other thing too, and sometimes those two things kind of grow together. Figure out who your ideal client is and what
with.
your ideal type of session is. Um, it's like you can almost guarantee that you'll have to be a volume photographer at a lower price point, and for some people that is the goal. The other thing though is that it's like it is a good reminder to not be presumptuous about what other people's goals are. Maybe,
Mhm.
maybe she or he, this whoever photographer is doesn't have to work. Maybe they're independently wealthy, and maybe all they want to do is make enough money to pay for their vacation or to pay for the holidays every year while doing this hobby they would have been doing anyway. Like it's not my business.
Mhm.
However, if you are looking to be full time, if you are looking to be super profitable, um, then yes, having an understanding of the makeup of your income, your
Mhm.
expenses. The time, the other thing is that I know how much each of my offers pays me hourly.
Mm.
So that is one big perk of having the all-inclusive delivery is that I know that on average, my family sessions pay me $300 an hour. And that's over the amount of hours that each one requires of me. I know my associate sessions pay me around $250 an hour. I
Mm.
know, so like I know going in when I'm mapping out my year, how much time each family is going to require me, each session type is going to require of me. And then that also informs how I set those prices, also understanding my overhead and everything like that, and fixed expenses versus not fixed expenses.
So, a question, in
Yeah.
that 300 an hour, are you including the time to market, the time to
Yes.
run the business, the time to advertise, the time to edit, the time to uh, go to workshops, all those things? That
Yeah,
300 an hour.
more or less, more or less. I don't consider like when I don't consider like my continuing education as because that's but as far as like marketing, a lot of this is automated too. I batch a lot of my email
But
marketing, my social media marketing, my in-person, my effective marketing is my in-person events and things like that. Um,
and
so I'm
you include
mostly
that.
sorry.
Sorry. And you include that to get this client who's invested, we'll say $2,000, and I'm getting 300 an hour with them, and I found them because I spent these hours doing this thing. You're including the
Well, that
time it took
that's a
to
different
get that
metric
client.
for me.
Okay.
That would I would consider that like a CAC, like a client acquisition cost metric, where we don't typically pay. Well, some of us do pay for advertising. Most photographers don't pay for advertising. I pay for my advertising with time, with a
Time.
few hours a quarter
Right.
to do that. So for me, I think of that as money spent on advertising, as even though it's my time. No, I consider my marketing that I do, which is, but like I said, mostly automated at this point, although it's done in batches occasionally. No, I consider the time, I spend going back and forth with this person before they book, the things that are happening leading up to the session itself, and then the processing delivery, and
Okay.
which is about 3 to 4 hours per client.
So is that including your equipment cost,
No,
tax?
that's no,
So it's a
those
raw,
are my expenses. I'm
so
just
it's the
thinking of like
raw dollars, i-
my hours. Yeah.
ignoring anything that is the expense of running the business. What's the cash in my pocket, uh, if I do a shoot?
Oh, what is with the gross? Yes. What am I grossing per client? So like
Right,
before expenses, what am I grossing per client? Yes.
right.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
easier to track that when you're not selling
Tangibles.
prints.
Yeah, there's no cogs involved in that typically.
Right,
Although
right.
I work with enough schools and then these other events where I do sell enough prints where I have to deal, but not to the extent that you do.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Any other like the pri things about pricing? So we're working with our head, we're knowing our numbers for the basic um, hourly wage before you pull out things to actually run the business, own computers, have insurance, pay your taxes,
Right.
pre
Because
pre
all of those will be affected equally because I don't have hard costs almost for the most part with
for
any
a
of my
shoot,
sessions.
for a
So
session.
yeah, none of my sessions have hard costs associated with them automatically.
Right.
So I can across the board say before taxes, before expenses, here's what I am grossing per hour for each of these sessions. And I actually created a spreadsheet for myself that laid out at the end of the year. I'm normally in January, actually. I do kind of an audit, an offer audit, and I
Hmm.
list all of the different things I offered that year, all the different types of offers, how many of them I booked and when. So across the board, I could look January through December when I was booking these things, how many of them, how much money, how many hours each one of I spent on them. And then that's where I'm seeing the breakdown of my hourly rate, but I'm also seeing at a glance because of course I tied in pie charts for each quarter to see
Oh
when am I
God.
when am I booking these
Your
things?
brain is different than mine. Go
It
ahead.
it really isn't. This is just one of my spurts of like hyper concentration and focus.
Right.
And I was
Mhm.
probably avoiding doing my bookkeeping at the time. That's normally when I'm the most productive and when I'm avoiding my bookkeeping. But
Yeah.
even though it was really bookkeeping adjacent, it really was
Right.
not productive. Except that it does give me like a 10,000-foot view of my year, of like
Hmm.
which offers are performing. For example, the first year I did it, I had photographed my district's school photos, which was a good job. I made $15,000 off of that. But then when I looked at how many hours I actually spent
Hmm.
doing it, I dropped it because yes, it was $15,000, but in the amount of hours that I spent doing that job, and you know what it's like. Maybe you don't, but if you were a wedding photographer, you know what it's like to have to photograph and essentially work for people who didn't hire you.
Right.
And
Right.
that a public
Yeah.
school falls into that category.
Hmm.
It's thankless work. So it was just like, you know what? For the stress that that caused me, for the amount of hours that I did, nope, wasn't worth $15,000. I will make $15,000 a different way next year, and I absolutely did, and then some.
Right.
With just
Yeah.
replace it with families.
I did. When I first started, I hired on with some studios that needed like someone that was good with children. And one of the companies had some schools. And so I did 2 days of underclass, and it totally convinced me this is not what I want to do.
I will
So,
say, and I hate to sound like elitist, but like if I go to a Montessori school, a preschool,
Yeah,
that's a very different clientele. That's
right.
actually great. It's I consider that even though it pays pretty well, you average around 75 to $100 a student. Um, I consider it as a foot in the door offer because this
Yes,
is the entry point for these families to book me at a higher ticket thing that I really enjoy doing. So
right.
that I like a public school where it's just too many kids, the ages. I want to work with little kids, you know.
Hmm.
I hope I don't sound like I am discriminating. I'm
No,
very squarely middle class, but I
yeah, what
but
I'm thinking is that it's harder in that kind of environment to establish yourself as a higher end photographer, that this is something that you're
absolutely. Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
but in a private school, uh, preschools,
Yeah.
Montessori, that the parents have to dish out some cash. I think it's easier to
It is.
establish, hey, that it's been great working with your kids, and here's the meat of my
Right.
business.
Right.
So,
In a
yes,
public school, they want a more traditional school portrait where what I want to
right.
produce is not that.
Burger flipping.
So like, yeah, Montessori preschools, daycares even,
Mhm,
they love the very like um unconventional,
mhm.
portraiture of their kids that aren't, anything like they would get from the school. So yeah, it's no, there's the other thing for me that made it not worth it to stick with the school in my town was that, all those parents already knew about me. And the ones who wanted to hire me did.
Ah,
I wasn't converting anybody. So
right,
it was more, it was like charity with some
right,
pay, but more
right.
headaches than were worth it.
So I know you have to go, and we're just about out of time, oh, for me as well. Um, so is there any last thing about pricing, or have we kind of covered a
Oh, no,
good?
we've only scratched the surface.
Okay.
I think that pricing is more than anything in your head. Any challenges that you're perceiving with pricing have way more to do with you, your own money stories, your own
Mhm.
programming than it does with your client. I I would encourage you to take a look at where your money's coming in, what's doing well in your business, who are the like uh know understand your client's LTV, their lifetime value, their what every like client has spent with you in the span of your business. And then look at how that money's been spent. Look at who's spending it. Look for the common threads. Like I said, pricing really can't be siloed. It's something
Right.
I would love to, and I think most people do, just say like, do the math, figure out your cost of doing business, and raise your prices. If you build it, they will come. But
Right.
there's way more to it than that.
Yes,
You
because you
need
got to build it.
you got to build it. You need
I
to know
mean,
who you're talking to. You need to know who you're building it for.
right.
Understanding who that ideal client is. That's why I like to do this like client retrospective where I do look back over the last 5 years every so often. I'm like, all right, who spent the most money with me in these last five
Mhm.
years? Okay, what's the common thread? There's almost always going to be a common denominator when you look at those clients. And that's going to help inform you. Like, okay, all of this is true. Do I also enjoy working with these people? Do I like spending time with them? Because that's important as service providers. We're spending time with these people. So we got to
Right.
like them, right?
Hmm.
That's why I'm like, it's important for me to not, the people to just not just be able to afford me and be easygoing. But I want to know that we are on the same page with as far as like social.
Agree with what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said.
That's
It's like I mentioned when I was on your show, and everybody, you got to listen in July, right after my 4th of July birthday. I'll be
Oh,
the speaker.
yes.
But as my career evolved, I did the look of what you're saying and realized most of my best clients are grandmothers with young, like first and second grandbabies. And so then that got me to think, well, where are those people? And I realized certain charities like ovarian cancer is very much about women
Mm-hmm.
60s and above. So I started getting involved in those charities and attracting more. So I
Yeah.
like what you're saying is once you know the common denominator,
Yeah.
that can simplify your message. It can simplify what you put on your website, what you put
It,
in,
yeah.
where you find them, the people you network with.
This is a completely different conversation, but it's also not because I do believe all of these things are cogs in a wheel. They're all your pricing, your marketing, your ideal client, all of that. Those things do work together and they depend on each other. But, I used to roll my eyes about the client avatar. She
Mm.
drives an SUV and she loves iced coffee and goes to Target and like that stuff is inconsequential and it really is. But
Right,
look at your real people that you love to photograph who love to patronize your business and what do they have in common? And then
right,
start looking where do people who have that in common hang out? How can I
right,
show up more in front of those people?
right.
These are all the building blocks to raising your prices and having a profitable business is making sure that the people who are going to be able to spend that money with you are out there and that they exist because I always feel like if you can sell this offer for $3,000 once, you can sell it 10 more times.
Hmm.
There's not that wasn't a fluke. And I
Right,
do believe that in most cases it's just figuring out how to rinse and repeat once you find out what works and what feels
right.
good.
So we've got to stop because you got something you have to
I
do
do I have to pick up my
shortly.
child from
Yes.
school.
So I know you have a free gift.
Yes.
The place to find it is the businessfocusphotographer.com/profitable. And what is that gift?
So it is not your mother's pricing calculator. This is a pricing worksheet. So what you're going to be able to do with this worksheet is you're going to plug in all of your current offers, their prices, if they are a session fee model, and then if they are, then the packages that are associated with it, or if they're all inclusive, there's another category for that. Any COGS that are associated, as well as any other hard costs. Taxes are factored into this, and you're going to see how many of each of these offers you need to book in the year to hit your income goals. It's a really fun thing to play around with. I don't know when this is going to air on your, but we're already well into Q2 anyhow. But it's good to play around with any time of the year to kind of set some goals, get a realistic like view of the sort of work you're going to want to put in. And yeah, I think that the pricing calculator is a great thing to figure out your cost of doing business and what you need to charge. But most people have more than one offer, and most people have there's a lot of variables in how much they earn off of each session. So
Right.
this worksheet kind of does picks up where the pricing calculator leaves off.
Got it.
Yeah.
Um, so stay tuned, everybody. If I can do a little quick wrap up. And Jill, I'm so excited to have had this conversation with you and to be continued.
Yeah, I think we'll have to continue another time. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Yes. So I have bad news.
What?
I'm going to depend on your recording.
Well, I'll stop it now.
Oh my gosh. It was such a great conversation. And it was so fun that we had talked earlier today for her show, and I explained why in-person sales is my jam. And so really appreciated learning about how someone who is charging well and earning a good living with the digitals as the main product, maybe even the only product, um, works that out. So her why for her about digital only is that for her, her lifestyle, the way her brain works, having the session and then running the business is the part that works for her. All the steps to in-person sales and selling prints and all of that, it just doesn't fit her at this point. Um, we talked about the difference between lifestyle and documentary kind of photography and lifestyle is a little bit more curated in terms of the posing and lighting and clothing, and documentary is really more what people are actually like. One of her tips for marketing is she does quarterly, she partners with uh, another business that attracts the same clients that would love what she does, and she does pop-up personality portraits, and that gets her in front of lots of new clients potentially. We talked about raising prices, and her main thing is where we price is a head game. Getting comfortable with a different price is just a random thing, but we also want to understand that our pricing is part of our branding. We want to do the math and look at our expenses. Um, we need to have a good portfolio. We need to know who we want to work with, our ideal clients. Um, we need to know on an hourly basis what we're getting paid and then what our hard expenses are. I think that is enough for now, but she is so wonderful, and you can see her personal work at Jill C. Smith Photography, and her uh, business and podcast is the business focused photographer.com. Okay, that's it for now. Bye.